But now they keep drilling into the timeline, and I saw this morning when Pompeo was holding his press conference, they're asking, oh, well, but was it really imminent, and how imminent was it? Do you remember any journalists grilling, let's say, Jay Carney? We used to call him Smarmy Smurf back in the day, if you remember, for the original Saturday Squad. Do you remember journalists drilling Jay Carney on, or drilling, same thing, close enough, on the truth of how imminent an attack was when there was a drone strike ordered by President Obama, and Obama was very clear that he was signing off on these strikes personally. This was not a thing left to the generals or left. Obama was signing off on these strikes in Pakistan and in Yemen. There were articles written about this. He was open. He talked about it. He made jokes about, using the drones. I forget when it was, at some dinner. And, he said, boys better stay away from my daughters. And he made some joke about, ordering drone strikes. So, I mean, this was, he was like the drone guy. That was his big contribution to strategy. And as we know, drones are a tactic. I mean, this would be like saying I'm the let's use snipers against the enemy guy. Okay, but it's not enough on its own, is it? But do you remember the press grilling Jay Carney on Anwar al-Awlaki's imminent threat that required him to be hit with a drone strike, such that also a 16-year-old, he was a U.S. citizen, Anwar al-Awlaki, and a 16-year-old U.S. citizen, his son, was also killed in that strike. Now, I'm not crying any tears for Anwar al-Awlaki, but I'm just trying to point. I mean, the guy was scum, and it was a good thing we took him out. But I can also feel that way about Qasem Soleimani, and yet we sit here and we hear from the journalists that now they want to do their jobs. They cannot take the position that they have principles late in the game when it benefits them politically and expect us to believe that they really have principles. That's not the same thing. They have convenience. They have opportunism. They do not have principles. And on this notion of the timeline, what would be an acceptable thing for Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, to say in response to this grilling this morning? I mean, what was he really supposed to do? They insist that there must be some malfeasance here on the part of the administration. But instead of just dealing with the fact that you're not hearing any voices from the intelligence community yet that have disagreed with this, they say, well, why should we, this was the question that was being posed this morning, why should we believe you now, meaning you, the administration, when you say we had this intelligence, when you have said the intelligence community was wrong on other things? Okay, well, we can play this game all day. Why should you ever believe the intelligence community then? Journos? Why should you ever think that the U.S. government is telling the truth? First of all, the U.S. government was wrong about Russia collusion and Trump at the very highest level, as we know from what we've seen from the FBI and the CIA and these other places. But is that now an excuse to ignore everything they say? Oh, no. It's just an excuse when you want it to be. It's an excuse now because it's useful for attacking Trump. But it's not okay for the president to question clearly politically motivated leaks and attacks on him from within the intelligence community, meant to destroy his presidency, by the way. He can't do that without them now coming back and saying, well, hold on, he objected to that effort. So if he objects to the deep state coup going on in the federal bureaucracy against him, he cannot now turn around and say, the information presented to me from that federal bureaucracy indicated Qasem Soleimani was a threat. I mean, he can't win is the point here. It doesn't matter what he does, what he says. They hate him.